So imagine walking into a bank, right? You stroll up to the teller, but instead of sliding a paycheck across the counter or depositing cash, you deposit hours.
Oh, wow. Just handing over time.
Exactly. Like the 3 hours you spent mentoring a struggling student last weekend, or maybe the entire afternoon you spend helping a local community center set up, their new accounting software.
Right.
And the teller just nods, takes those hours, and puts them into a vault where they don't just sit there. They become a verified, exchangeable currency.
I mean, it completely flips the script on how we value our time and our labor.
Yeah.
Suddenly, your goodwill isn't just a fleeting moment. It's a tangible, quantifiable asset.
It really is. And welcome to today's deep dive, because I know you as a listener want to grasp these big, innovative ideas without getting bogged down by information overload. So today we are looking at something that takes that abstract bank metaphor and makes it very real.
Yeah, it's not just a concept anymore.
Right. We are exploring a platform called the SUSTNET Time Bank. And SUSTNET, that stands for the Sustainable Business Network Association Malaysia. They've built this ecosystem attempting to radically redefine corporate social responsibility, CSR, and traditional volunteering.
Which is a massive undertaking, if you think about it.
Huge. So the mission of our deep dive today is to understand how this platform is actually turning time and skills into measurable, undeniable impact. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because before we can understand who is using this platform and why, we really need to look at the foundational mechanics. I mean, how do you actually turn an hour of work into a currency?
Well, in a traditional economy, money is the medium of exchange, right? It's the agreed-upon measurement of value.
Sure, dollars, euros, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the SUSTNET Time Bank, the hour is that medium. Hours of expertise, mentoring, or volunteering are recorded, banked, and then exchanged.
So it literally functions as a community currency.
It does. But, the integrity of any currency relies entirely on how tightly it's controlled.
Right, which I definitely noticed when I was looking at their onboarding process. Getting into this bank is not, it's not like downloading a new social media app and just hitting a sign-up button.
Not at all.
It requires a serious level of intentionality. First, you have to go through a subscription Google form, agree to all these terms and conditions, and then you literally have to sit and wait for a platform administrator to approve your app access.
Yeah, they have to manually let you in.
And it doesn't even stop there. If you want to actually apply for a service or offer one, you go through yet another dedicated Google form.
I know, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of a specialized checking account or maybe a frequent flyer program, but instead of hoarding points for a vacation, the balance is hours meant for community impact. But I have to push back a little here.
Okay, go ahead.
Isn't this just a whole lot of red tape and Google Forms just to volunteer? Doesn't that kind of friction stop people from helping?
What's fascinating here is that the friction is actually the primary safeguard of the entire system. Wait, really? The friction is intentional?
Absolutely. Think about it. If time is going to be treated as a literal currency that corporations might eventually sponsor, you need an absolute guarantee against counterfeiting.
Oh, I see. Counterfeiting goodwill. Like people just claiming they did 50 hours of community service just to look good?
That is the exact vulnerability they're solving for. The platform's administrators basically act as a central bank. They monitor and approve all submissions before anything is published.
So they're checking everyone's math before it goes public.
Right. It prevents misleading or inaccurate content from circulating. It intentionally moves voluntary away from a casual, undocumented good deed and places it into a highly structured, protected economy.
So without those checks, the currency loses all its trust.
Exactly. And therefore, it loses all its value.
Okay, so it's less like a traditional checking account and maybe more like a solar power grid?
Oh, I like that analogy. How so?
Well, say I generate excess energy, in this case my professional skills or my free time, and I feed it back into the community grid. But the grid operators, the admins, they have to meticulously verify that the energy I'm providing is real and usable before they actually credit my account.
That is a fantastic way to visualize it.
Yeah.
The admins are ensuring the input is valid so the entire grid doesn't just, collapse.
Which naturally leads to the next piece of the puzzle. Now that we know how this time currency is minted and protected by the admins, we have to look at the economy itself.
Right, because the currency is completely useless if there's no one around to trade it with.
Exactly. SUSTNET has built what they call a one ecosystem, four roles design. And I think rather than just listing them out, let's actually walk through how these roles interact in the real world.
Okay, let's use a hypothetical but very common scenario. Imagine a local food bank, right? They're doing great work, but their inventory management is an absolute mess.
Like tracking thousands of canned goods on a clipboard kind of mess?
Exactly. They desperately need a database, but they have zero budget for IT. So in the time bank ecosystem, the food bank volunteers and staff, they act as the first role, the contributors.
Got it. The contributors.
Yeah, they were the ones on the ground, logging their community activity, but also broadcasting their open requests to the network.
So the food bank puts out a distress call for like a database engineer.
Yes. And that brings us to the second role, the service providers, or the offerings.
Okay.
Somewhere in that same city, there's a professional database engineer. They join the time bank, get approved by the admin, and they post an offer describing their specific expertise and the hours they are willing to donate.
Oh, wow. So the platform just matches the engineer's offering with the food bank's request.
Right. The engineer goes in, builds the database, and then logs those delivered hours into the system.
Okay, so the engineer has now banked those hours. But here is where the third role comes in and where the actual financial support enters the picture, the sponsors and funders.
Yes, the corporate side.
Right. These are often corporate entities looking to support CSR initiatives. So a local tech company might be looking for ways to support community infrastructure. They log into the time bank, visit a section called Contributor Suggestions, and they see this completed project.
They see the proof.
Exactly. They see verified proof that an engineer just spent 40 hours upgrading a food bank's capacity. And then the tech company can choose to financially sponsor those banked hours or fund the food bank directly.
And finally, you have the fourth role, tying it all together. The announcers.
The announcers, what do?
These are registered members who take that success story, the engineer, the food bank, the corporate sponsor, and they share the update across the entire network via the platform's dashboard.
Oh, I see. It keeps the community informed and proves to everyone that the system actually works.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. All these completely different groups, the NGOs, the corporate funders, individual professionals, they are transacting in the exact same time-based currency.
Yeah, they're all speaking the language of hours.
Which is wild.
It is. And that shared language creates what the source material explicitly calls the network effect.
The network effect.
Right. Traditionally, volunteering and corporate funding exist in these massive, isolated silos. That food bank doesn't know how to reach the database engineer.
Right, and the database engineer wants to help but doesn't know who needs them most.
Exactly. And meanwhile, the corporate sponsor has money to deploy, but they can't find verified, high-impact projects. The platform acts as the ultimate connective tissue.
So the more members that join this ecosystem, the richer the pool of offers and requests becomes.
Yes, it creates this self-sustaining cycle, matching the supply of skills with the demand of real-world community needs.
Okay, that makes perfect sense on a mechanical level, but we really need to talk about human behavior here.
Oh, absolutely.
Because setting up an account, waiting for approval, meticulously logging every single hour, that takes effort. What actually motivates a busy professional engineer or a massive corporate entity to actively log in and participate in this economy?
Well, you're looking for the return on investment. The SUSTNET Time Bank relies on a very clever dual incentive structure. It's really the engine under the hood.
Okay, what's the first incentive?
The first major draw is CPD continuing professional development.
Oh, wow. This is huge for so many industries. That's not just like a virtual gold star.
Not at all. Every verified contribution on the platform earns CPD points and a digital certificate for professional accreditation.
Right, because if you're a lawyer or an accountant or an engineer, you're often legally mandated to maintain a certain number of professional development hours every year just to keep your license active.
Exactly. So our hypothetical database engineer isn't just doing a nice thing for the food bank. They're literally earning the professional accreditation they need for their career simply by deploying their skills for a community cause.
That is brilliant.
And the second incentive is even more fascinating. It's a mechanism they call exchange requests. Yeah. Let's say our engineer banked those 40 hours. They can submit a formal request, which the admin verifies, of course, to exchange their banked contribution hours.
Okay.
And then sponsors and funders can browse these requests and choose to financially support or sponsor them.
Wait, let's slow down on that mechanism. If the time is converted into funding, how does the cash actually flow? Like, who gets the money?
The funding generally goes toward supporting the initiative itself or expanding the capacity of the community project.
Okay, so the volunteer isn't just pocketing the cash.
No. By exchanging their hours, the contributor is basically converting their sweat equity into a recognizable asset that a corporate sponsor can back financially.
Ah, I get it. Ensuring the community project has both the labor and the capital it needs to thrive. The volunteer's time becomes the catalyst that unlocks the corporate funding.
Exactly.
Now, I did notice a crucial detail hidden in the source material about accessing the proof of all this activity.
Oh, the service fee.
Yes. While the platform meticulously tracks every hour and every impact, you can't just freely download all your data whenever you want.
Right.
If you want to download your CPD certificates for your professional portfolio or export your dashboard reports, you have to pay a service fee to the admin. Those tangible downloads are only available to members who enable that paid service.
Which is, frankly, the platform's sustainability model. I mean, they have to keep the servers running and compensate the administrators who are doing all that heavy lifting to verify the currency.
Sure, I completely understand the need to keep the lights on, but I want to push back on the philosophy of this entire incentive model for a second.
Okay, let's hear it.
If a professional is only volunteering to earn mandatory CPD points so they don't lose their license, or, they're doing it specifically to trigger a corporate funding exchange, doesn't that dilute the altruism of traditional volunteering?
It's a fair point.
Like, traditional volunteering is always framed as a selfless sacrifice. If I'm doing it to pad my resume or keep my professional accreditation, is it really charity?
This raises an important question, and it's a tension that the entire nonprofit sector wrestles with constantly. Does the motivation behind the act matter if the outcome is positive?
Right.
The SUSTNET platform operates on a very pragmatic philosophy. They call it CPD plus impact in one place.
So they aren't hiding the professional benefit. They are putting it front and center.
They are explicitly rejecting the idea that volunteering must be a pure, selfless sacrifice to be valuable. Instead, they're focusing on aligning incentives.
Making it a win-win.
Exactly. They allow professionals to advance their careers and meet their obligations while simultaneously doing good. They acknowledge that sustainable impact requires sustainable motivation.
That makes a lot of sense. Burnout is real.
Burnout is the absolute enemy of charity. If you rely solely on people's selfless goodwill, eventually they run out of energy or time. But if you make the act mutually beneficial, people will keep showing up year after year.
That is a brilliant reframe. We don't need martyrs. We need active participants. The food bank doesn't care if the database engineer helped them out of pure altruism or because they needed CPD points before the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
They just care that they can finally track their inventory and feed more people. The community need is met either way.
And that pragmatic approach extends to the corporate side of the equation as well.
Let's talk about those corporate sponsors and funders. Because whenever you bring corporate money into the social impact space, red flags go up.
Oh, immediately.
We have all seen companies do the bare minimum, like planting a single tree, and then they spend millions of dollars on a marketing campaign to tell everyone how green and responsible they are.
Yeah, the classic PR spin.
Exactly. It's the looming threat of greenwashing. So how does this platform prove to the outside world that the impact is actually real?
Well, SUSTNET tackles it head-on with a very strict foundational rule. They explicitly call it verifiable, not vanity.
Verifiable, not vanity. I love how clear that is.
It is the core value proposition for any corporation using the time bank. Everything on the platform is evidenced, it is time-stamped, it is permanently tied to identified members.
Because of that intense admin moderation we discussed earlier?
Exactly. You simply cannot fake your impact. But it goes much deeper than just proving that an event happened. It's about proving how that event fits into global sustainability standards.
Yes, the reporting frameworks. This is where it gets highly technical but incredibly important. The source material highlights that every single contribution on the platform is classified across the 5 P5 sustainability pillars.
Right, the P5 framework. That stands for people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership.
Okay.
It's a way of categorizing impact, so it isn't just a vague good deed. So going back to our food bank example, when that database is built, the admins ensure that activity is tagged under prosperity because it builds local economic capacity and people because it directly serves the community's health.
And it doesn't start at P5, does it? The platform takes those outputs and maps them directly to ESG and SDG indicators.
Yes. ESG being environmental, social, and governance criteria, and SDG being the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
These are the gold standards for corporate reporting globally.
They really are.
So what does this all mean? It means the receipts are built into the system from day one. A corporate sponsor doesn't just put out a press release saying, "We support our community."
No, they can generate an airtight, admin-verified report.
Right, saying, "We sponsored 40 hours of professional tech infrastructure mapping directly to SDG Goal 2 for Zero Hunger and Goal 9 for industry, innovation, and infrastructure." And they have the verified timestamps to back it up.
And SUSTNET is militant about this transparency. They refuse to use anonymous portals or hide behind vague contact forms.
Yeah, I noticed they attach their actual physical addresses, their admin emails, and their direct operational lines right to their public ledgers.
Oh yeah, they literally list www.sustainable-business.net and their Malaysian office phone number, 603-6280-4985 for accountability.
Wow, they're essentially daring people to audit them because they know the data is solid.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this data alignment is the platform's absolute masterstroke.
How so?
Think about the intense pressure corporate funders are under today. They don't just want to throw money at a cause to look good for a photo op anymore. They desperately need trackable, verified data for their own mandatory ESG reporting to their shareholders and, to government regulators.
Right, the laws around corporate sustainability are tightening all over the world.
Exactly. By providing this verifiable ledger that maps local actions to global indicators, the time bank solves a massive corporate headache. The corporation gets its necessary audit-proof compliance data, and the community gets the funding and action it desperately needs.
It's a perfect symbiosis of corporate necessity and community impact.
It really is.
It really shifts your perspective on how we structure society's safety nets. I mean, we started this deep dive looking at the abstract concept of banking time. We saw how turning an hour into a currency requires a tightly controlled environment acting like a solar grid to prevent counterfeit goodwill. And that brought us to the four-role ecosystem, where contributors, service providers, sponsors, and announcers all speak the same language of hours to break down traditional silos.
We then explored the engine driving that economy. The platform aligns human incentives by letting professionals earn their mandatory CPD points while simultaneously creating impact. It proves that sustainable motivation is just as important as the charity itself.
And finally, we uncovered how the entire platform acts as a verifiable ledger against greenwashing. It categorizes every action into frameworks like P5 and maps them to ESG and SDG indicators, providing the hard, undeniable data that modern corporations need to justify their social spending.
It challenges our most basic assumptions about the worth of an hour. Whether you are an expert with specialized skills to offer, a professional needing accreditation, or just a corporation looking to invest locally, this framework proves that goodwill does not have to be informal, invisible, or lost to time. It can be meticulously measured, banked, and deployed at an incredible scale.
It really is a powerful way to look at human potential. And it leaves me with one final thought I want to pass on to you as you go about the rest of your day. Think back to that bank vault we imagined at the very beginning of our conversation. If every hour you spent informally helping a colleague, advising a friend over coffee, or organizing a local event was meticulously logged, verified, and deposited into a time bank,
Wow.
how wealthy and impact currency would you be right now? And more importantly, what could you buy with that banked goodwill to further change your community?